Ever feel like you're just constantly trying to piece things together? Get the big picture without getting totally lost.
Absolutely. And maybe you've even wrestled with those huge questions like, what is God, really?
Yeah.
And how much say do we actually have in our own lives?
Yeah, exactly. Those. And that's why this deep dive feels so relevant. We're jumping into the world of Neville Goddard, specifically his lecture, You Dare to Assume.
It's a fascinating one from, April 17th, 1970. And it really offers this unique perspective on spirituality.
Totally unique. It centers on this incredible power we all supposedly have our own imagination.
Right. So our goal here is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the key ideas from this lecture for you, give you a solid grasp of Goddard's take on God, imagination, their creative power.
Without making it overly complicated, kind of a shortcut to understanding these potentially, life-changing ideas. Maybe even spark some curiosity to try them out yourself.
Exactly. So Goddard kicks things off talking about spiritual growth.
Right, and it sounds like he's saying we need to shift how we think about God, like away from some guy upstairs.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He suggests moving from an external God, separate and out there, to realizing the divine is actually within us. The power isn't something you find outside. It's inherent. It is you.
Okay. And that leads him to William Blake, doesn't it? There's that story with the Reverend Tressler.
Oh, yeah, that's a great illustration. Tressler thought Blake's ideas were, too complex, needed simplifying for the idiot, as Blake apparently put it.
Huh. Blake wasn't having it, though, was he?
Not at all. He basically said, if it's easily understood by someone like that, it's probably not worth much. He believed real understanding comes from engaging our higher faculties, especially the imagination.
So the Bible, for Blake, worked because it was symbolic, speaking to the imagination.
Precisely. Not because it was just a logical instruction manual. It makes you think, makes you imagine. That's where the value is.
So imagination isn't just daydreaming for these guys. It's like the main tool for spiritual insight.
Exactly. And building on that, Goddard makes this really bold claim about who we fundamentally are.
Which is?
He states flat out, our true identity is Jesus Christ. And then, wait for it, Jesus Christ is the human imagination.
Whoa. Okay, Jesus Christ is the human imagination. How does he back that up?
He points to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 3. By him all things were made. Goddard interprets that him as our own imagination, the creative force behind everything.
Okay, that's pretty mind-bending. Our imagination created the universe.
That's the idea. And he connects it to Paul's speech in Athens, Acts 17. Remember the unknown God?
Vaguely, yeah. Paul sees an altar to an unknown God.
Right. And Paul tells them, this God you worship without knowing, he's not far from any of us. In him we live and move and have our being.
Ah, okay. So Goddard's take is that this unknown God is actually within.
Exactly. It's not some mystery deity out there. It's deeply personal, inherent in everyone. It is our imagination.
So God's not just close. He's inside us. But then Goddard says something even stranger. God isn't even so far as to be near. What's that about? Nearness implies separation.
Precisely. Even near suggests two distinct things. Goddard argues God actually became us, fully human, and his name, I am.
I am.
Think about it. When you say, I am tired, I am happy, even when you're dreaming, that core sense of I amness is always there, right?
Yeah, it's the constant awareness of being.
That, Goddard says, is God, that fundamental I am, totally inseparable from you.
Which leads him to the main event, the big statement.
The God who created the universe is your own wonderful human imagination.
Your own. My own. Wow. Not a God, but the God.
The God of the universe, yeah. He admits we might not be fully aware of it. Our consciousness is sort of keyed low, as he says. We experience life like a strange, wonderful dream.
But the dreamer underneath it all
is that I am, our imagining self.
Okay, so if this is true, he doesn't just leave it there, does he? He challenges us.
He absolutely does. He quotes that line, do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Test him and see.
Test him? How? What's the method?
It's radical, he says. Ignore the facts. Ignore what your senses and reason are telling you, especially if it contradicts what you want.
Ignore reality.
The current appearance of reality, yes. And instead, you dare to assume the feeling of being the person you want to be or having the thing you desire. Right now.
Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not just think about it.
Exactly. Feel it now. As he puts it, I no longer want to be it. I am it. and I walk in the assumption that I am it.
And by doing that,
By holding that feeling, living from that assumption, you command the world to conform to it.
command the world, how?
He uses the biblical figure David as a symbol for that.
David, son of Jesse. Okay, what's the symbolism there?
Well, Jesse, Goddard says, means I am, our core being. So David, son of Jesse, represents humanity stemming from that I am.
Humanity. So us.
All of humanity, yeah. He points to the verse, I have found in David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart who will do all my will.
Meaning humanity will carry out the will of our I am, our assumptions.
That's the idea. Humanity becomes the means through which your assumed reality manifests. Whatever you assume deeply enough, humanity, David, will bring it about.
Okay. And then there's this idea of an eventual reunion, where all of humanity gathers into one being, David, who calls us Father. That's intense.
It's a very potent image, yeah. He links it to the second psalm. This unified David, the sum total of human experience fulfilling our will, finally recognizes us, our I am, as the source, the Father.
And he also mentions the 40th Psalm.
Right, where David says, I delight to do thy will, my God. It suggests that when we fully awaken to our I am identity, humanity naturally fulfills our will.
Okay, but if this I am, our imagination, is the only creator,
What about bad stuff?
suffering, destruction.
Goddard addresses that head-on. He quotes Deuteronomy, I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hands.
So our imagination is responsible for the bad stuff, too.
If there's only one cause, one creator, our I am, then logically, yes. Both the good and the bad, the creation and destruction, stem from that one source, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously.
It ties into the Shema, right? The Lord our God, the Lord is one.
Exactly, one source for everything.
So God, our imagination, isn't separate from any of it.
Correct. And Goddard sees this whole human experience as God deliberately descending into limitation, into opacity, forgetting his own nature.
Forgetting. Why?
So he can then burst it and expand beyond what he was before. It's a journey of contraction and then expansion. But through it all,
His name remains I am.
always, that core identity is constant.
He also mentions, kind of mysteriously, that one day we'll be able to, see who's had this realization. They'll radiate something.
Yeah, a glory of God. He suggests an intuitive recognition of those who've awakened. But he also warns it's experiential hard to explain to someone who hasn't, developed the eyes to see it.
It all seems to point towards this profound sense of oneness.
Absolutely. I dwell in you, and you dwell in me, and we are one. He talks about a grand brotherhood where all these awakened individuals together are God.
Like the Elohim, the gods in Scripture, they're us.
That's his interpretation. We are the gods, the brothers, who chose this journey into limitation, these woven garments of flesh, and will eventually be liberated.
And he says everyone follows the pattern in Scripture, the Jesus story, but internally, within themselves.
Yes, that the core experiences describe the birth, the death, the resurrection, the ascension, aren't just historical events, but a pattern that unfolds within each person's consciousness.
But sharing that realization must be tricky.
Extremely. He uses the example of people questioning Jesus. Isn't this Joseph's son? We know his parents. They couldn't grasp his talk of coming from heaven because they only saw the outer man. It highlights the difficulty of conveying this inner transformation.
Okay, but let's bring it back down to earth. The world of Caesar, as he calls it. How does this apply if I just, want a better job or need more money?
Same principle. Assume you have the better job. Assume you are financially secure. Now,
But what about the bills? The rejection letters?
ignore them in terms of their power over your inner state. Persistently feel the reality of the wish fulfilled. Don't let the current facts shake your assumption. Live from the end result in your imagination.
He tells that story about the UK election with Mr. Heath winning unexpectedly.
Yeah, the supporters of the expected winner were so sure, apparently, that many didn't even bother to vote.
And Goddard sees that as
As an example of how collective imagination, assumptions, maybe even subtle suggestions can shape outcomes, even on a large scale, whether people are consciously directing it or not.
So the takeaway is, don't say no to your own desires.
Exactly. Don't limit yourself. Believe it's possible. Assume it's done. Because humanity, David, will ultimately fulfill your consistent inner command. Everything in this world is possible if you understand this principle.
This all seems to build towards that returning of memory he talks about, like regaining the glory we had before the world was.
Yes, quoting John 17.5, is the ultimate awakening. Realizing the sent one us here and the sender, the I am, are one. remembering our true divine nature, the glory we temporarily set aside.
So when we imagine something vividly, it's not just us thinking, it's...
It's God acting. Imagining is God acting, and God's actions are his words, and as Isaiah says, his word doesn't return void, it accomplishes what he pleases.
Which means our imagination is incredibly powerful, creatively speaking.
Immensely. What you consistently imagine, you are decreeing into existence. It will happen.
So we really need to watch what we're imagining habitually.
Absolutely. He uses that stock market example. Some
Yeah.
people are imagining collapse, and well, that's their experience. Others, like Mr. Gardner he mentions, are imagining opportunity and creating fortunes in the same market.
Our inner world dictates our outer experience.
That's the core message. Even something like the moon landing.
He sees as proof of what collective human imagination can achieve when it's focused and believed in.
Exactly. A massive demonstration. If we can imagine it and truly believe it, we can achieve it.
It's interesting, though. He talks about creating wealth, but then says he turned down business proposals himself.
Right. He wanted to make it clear this isn't just about getting rich. It's a universal principle. It applies to health, relationships, creativity, anything. The power source is within, not in external deals.
And if we really nail this assuming the feeling thing,
The world will rush to serve you, as he puts it. Reality rearranges itself to match your persistent assumption.
and we come back to that final, powerful vision of David, not humanity, but one single shining youth.
Calling you father. It's the culmination. After playing all the parts, experiencing everything, the sum total of humanity perfected recognizes you as the source.
And in that moment, we realize we knew our earthly parents, the parents of the garment.
But we didn't know the true occupant, the divine self within the garment.
Until now. Now we know who we truly are.
And we can say, I have accomplished the work which thou gavest me to do. The task is complete. The glory is restored.
So the advice is to play our current role perfectly, not just for us, but for everyone, because they're all...
Yourself pushed out. Yes,
Yeah.
it's all interconnected. Our inner state ripples out and affects everyone because they are aspects of our own consciousness made manifest.
That avocado pear story illustrates that too, doesn't it? The desire fulfilled without direct action.
Perfectly. The person assumed they had them, felt the reality of it, and then they appeared,
Yeah.
seemingly from an external source. We assume the end and the means take care of themselves, often in unseen ways.
And underneath it all, the constant refrain, Jesus Christ is our true identity, which is the human imagination.
He hammers that home. It's the foundation. Through him, imagination, all things were made.
He calls life a dream of life, and the awakening is realizing we are the dreamer and the one spoken of in Scripture.
Yes, the ultimate aha moment. Realizing you authored the whole thing, that you are the God experiencing the human drama.
He brings Blake back in, talking about eternity existing before creation, which was an act of mercy.
Right, and that eternity where everything already exists is the human imagination. The physical world is just a projection from that eternal, imaginative realm.
So death isn't an end, it's like burying ourselves here for a while.
Metaphorically, yes.
Yeah.
A voluntary immersion in limitation and forgetting.
And the return is remembering that glory, helped by the sun, which is memory returning.
Exactly. Memory returns, and we remember who we truly are.
Which leads to that incredibly concise phrase, what seems to be is to those to whom it seems to be.
That sums it up perfectly. Reality is subjective, shaped entirely by our assumptions. What you assume is for you.
And the awakening itself, he describes it with intense inner experiences, an unearthly wind of voice.
The imagery of divine birth, the dove descending, the voice saying, "This is my beloved son." These are symbols of that profound inner shift, the recognition of our divine nature.
Not necessarily literal events outside.
More like powerful internal realizations represented symbolically.
And the conclusion is, we are the Elohim, the gods who together make up the one God, Jehovah.
Yes, we are all individual expressions of the one divine consciousness, inherently divine, collectively forming the whole.
But what about people who, die before they seem to have this full awakening? He mentions scripture saying to wait for power from on high.
He addresses that. He suggests everyone will get there, will be clothed with power, but the timing and the way it happens varies.
Like how only the women initially saw Jesus transfigured.
Exactly. It unfolds differently for each person, according to some divine pattern or timing. Not everyone experiences it in the same way or at the same time.
And Jesus himself, his words were often misunderstood because he was speaking from that higher perspective.
Definitely. He was talking about his true home, his divine origin, and people were stuck thinking about his earthly family and circumstances. They couldn't bridge the gap.
So even while living our normal lives, interacting with people who just see the outer garment, we can hold that inner knowledge that we are the Father of the Son of God.
That's the idea. The inner knowing remains, regardless of external appearances or how others perceive us. It's a constant internal reality.
And looking back, all of humanity through all time was unknowingly fulfilling our will, leading to that final vision of David.
It's a vast, almost cosmic perspective, isn't it? Our individual journey is part of this grand unfolding where everything contributes to the ultimate recognition of our shared divinity and the source we all came from.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and distill this. The absolute core takeaway from Goddard's You Dare to Assume is God isn't out there. God is right here.
Inside. As your own wonderful human imagination, that's the radical shift.
And the way to tap into that power is by daring to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now. That's how you shape reality.
It really is an invitation, isn't it? Stop being a passive bystander in your life and step up as the conscious creator, using the power you already have, taking responsibility for your imagination.
So, for everyone tuning in, the real journey starts now. It's about paying attention. What are you imagining all day? What are the assumptions running in the background?
Yeah, you got to test it. It's not just intellectual. Try it out. Start small, maybe. See what happens when you really commit to assuming a desired state. Build your own proof.
It's a personal experiment, really.
Absolutely. A journey of discovery.
And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. If your imagination truly is the creator, what reality are you going to dare to assume, starting right now?
Could it be that the limits you feel are just unchallenged assumptions, waiting for you to imagine something new?